Hi everybody and welcome to our first preparation webinar for Start at the Top in Denver. Hi, I'm so excited to meet all of you, and I see that you're joining the room right now. So welcome, welcome, welcome. This is of course Alessia. You should know me by now, but I can't wait to actually meet you in person in just a few days in Denver. So this is our first webinar of a series of 3. So we will have 2 more tomorrow, and then we will have the last one on Friday. We're super excited about all that. So before we actually start with the webinar itself, now these 3 webinars are all packed full of great content, and they're actually a great preparation for you for the moment where you will walk in the door, in Denver, because we want to actually be able to already have some shared conversations with you and be able to really dive deep immediately into, conversations about businesses when you get in. So before we get started, though, let me just discuss a couple of logistic things here. So first of all, as you might remember, each and every one of you has a guest ticket that you can use. Now, in order to use it, though, we need to request that you please register your guests. And that's specifically because we need to know how many people we are expecting in the room to make sure we have everything set up for you. So how do you register your guests? That's how it works. You will go and write to rockstarservice@industryrockstar.com. Rockstar Service, there is an A that is missing on mine. rockstarservice@industryrockstar.com. So this is the address. This is our customer service email address. So please write them your name, saying, I bought a ticket for the upcoming Start at the Top event in Denver, and I would like to register my guest, and give them the name and the email address of your guest so that we can make sure that we send them all the documents to prepare for it. Plus, we have everything ready when they will show up in our room. So this is as far as this logistic thing. Now, second thing is, if you haven't received the communication, or if you haven't, noted that down, make sure you note that this is our venue. It's the Denver Marriott West, 1717 Denver West Boulevard in Golden. So here you have it. This is the venue. So please make sure you come on time. What does it mean on time? Well, we start registration on Tuesday at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. on Tuesday, we start registration, so that then we're ready to rock at 9 a.m. So 9 a.m. sharp, we will open the door. Make sure you're ready. You will receive your manual, you will receive your lanyards, you will receive your ticket to actually get into the VIP room if you're VIP. So make sure you are all set up for that. And now that we discussed all the logistics, the guests, the venue, the timing, everything, I will leave you with my amazing husband, Kane, who will take you through our first preparation webinar for the event. And I will see you again tomorrow delivering webinar number 2. Here he is. So bye, have a good time.
All right, hello, how are you? Hope you're having a great one there. And we're excited to be seeing you coming up next week. So now that you're privy to all the logistics, I'm going to start to take you through all of the details about how to get your businesses growing as fast as they can. And of course, we've been doing this across the planet for the last 10 years. This will be our 380th Start at the Top, and we're very excited to be bringing it to you. So I'm going to actually pull up the slides here, and then we will get started. So just you tell me if you can see the slides and still hear me in just a moment. So you should be able to see me, hear me, and see the slides. If you can see me, hear me, and see the slides, let me know. Okay, there you are. And I'm going to ask you to be very interactive in this session. So I want to make sure that you are engaged and learning as much as you possibly can. So just let me know if you can hear me and see me okay and everything's going well, and then we will get rolling here. Now, this is the first of 3 webinars, of course. And, people ask us all the time, why do we do this? Why do we do these events? So, technically we're not an education company. We educate and we train, we mentor, we consult because we are looking for partners. And that means that we partner with and invest in businesses over the years. And we've done this. We've got partnerships and consulting interests and mentorship interests in over 1,000 companies across 26 different countries now. And we've been doing this for over a decade. We've had 400,000 students come through our trainings. And we primarily do this 3-day event, both to contribute to you and to give back to you and educate you on how to grow your business, but also because it allows us to meet you and understand who might be good to invite into a partnership or into let's say a mentorship, where we spend a year mentoring you and holding your hand on your business. From there, that 1-year mentorship, which is a paid mentorship, it's costing mentorship, but that mentorship allows us to actually have time to understand who would be good people to invest in and partner with in your businesses. And that's actually what we're really, we're really more angel investors. And what we do is we look to find great business owners across the world to partner with over time. So that's what we're doing here. We'll be looking for 30 students only. We take 30 students. We'll have probably close to about 180 business owners at the Denver event. As we've been speaking and talking around the West for about 6 months, meeting really driven, committed business owners, inviting whoever wants to be at this event to really accelerate their business. We've had 180 students say, I want to be there. And that means that usually we have about 150 applications for our 30 slots for mentorship. So we'll talk more about that at the event, but it's a pretty competitive thing that we do. And I don't know when we'll be able to get back to Denver to do it because we're booked around the planet. So let's start to take a look at the trainings of how do we get you to a place where we could actually be considering partnering with you over time, because we need to get you to a certain place first. So there's 3 webinars to this week, and we want to get you prepared for the event for next week. And so on this first webinar, we're going to go through the critical early decisions that one must make in order to be successful in building and growing their business. Now, you might be here because you're launching a brand new business. In fact, I'm going to ask you in just a second if you can drop into the chat window, what stage of business you're in. You may be here, where you are starting something completely new. Maybe you have a job and you're starting a brand new business, or you may be here and you've got a business that's started, but it's not very successful, and you'd like to make it a lot more successful. You want a lot more customers or clients. You need a lot more money coming through. Or you might be in an established business where you're really looking for some new techniques to expand internationally, build your brand, get more visibility, and so forth. So wherever you're at, you're going to find this event to be very, very powerful for you. And in the meantime, the second webinar that we're going to work on and look at is your higher purpose. Now, your highest purpose is something that many business owners think they've got solved by doing something that they're passionate about. But it's not just about what you're passionate about. In fact, it has a lot more to do with aligning the 6 domains of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. Now, this is not things that you will think intuitively. Many of these things are counterintuitive. And it turns out when you're really aligned in these 6 areas holistically, and you are, let's say, you're following your highest purpose, you're always going to have more success than those that are not. And of course, you have a lot of competition, and you need to be happy. It's very important that you're doing things that make you happy and fulfilled, and that you're earning money with, that you're contributing to the world, and you're making a difference. And so Alessia will take you through the 6 domains of how to align yourself with your highest purpose. And again, it's not just passion. So you're going to learn a lot more about that on webinar number 2. Webinar number 2 will be tomorrow at the exact same time. Webinar number 3 is about how to find your genius. And how to find your genius is about actually identifying the things that are very unique to you as a business owner, because building a business is got some very important elements about differentiating yourself, whether it's your brand, whether it's your marketplace, or whatever it is. It's very important that you actually understand what makes you unique and extraordinary. So we'll take you through that on the webinar number 3. And in fact, we're even going to give you a linguistic tool, a language tool that we use in our networking to move our businesses forward, to meet new customers, new clients, new partners, new celebrities, and so forth. And we'll take you through that on the 3rd webinar, okay? And all of this is to prepare you for the upcoming training weekend for Start at the Top. And of course, to really help you accelerate, because who we look to mentor over the year are students who are committed, driven, excited, and also showing that they are really going to take a big step. They're ready to take a big step in changing the way they think, changing the way they do things, that they're willing to take on new emotional risks, to do stuff that they haven't done before, and that they're willing to really commit to themselves. So these trainings now and for the whole weekend are about really understanding who is a good fit for us to be working with and mentoring in your business. Because ultimately, we're looking for businesses that are going to grow pretty fast in the next 1 to 2 years so that we can partner with you. We're not a classic venture capital firm where we're looking to invest in something that'll take 5, 10, or 20 years to mature. We're looking for anybody who's committed, driven, and self-motivated. You could be a yoga teacher. You could be an expert, a self-empowerment coach. You could be a builder, an importer, an exporter, an e-commerce company. It doesn't matter. We're looking for great people that we can mentor for a year and then partner with you on your business. So in this webinar, the first one, we're going to look at these areas. The first one is how to determine between expanding your company or focusing on a product or a service. So one of the first early decisions you have to make, whether you're launching a new business or whether you're expanding your business, is whether you're going to focus on a product or service to expand. The second thing is to start to understand your business model. Your business model is very important because when you understand your business model, you understand how to expand your business model for more value and for more revenue in your business. Okay. From there, we're going to look at how to even find great ideas. So you're probably here and you're coming to this training weekend because you want to find new ideas, or you want to learn, you want to expand into new ideas. You maybe have some new ideas to grow. Maybe you already know what business you want to start. Maybe you already know what you want to do. Maybe you're saying, hey, I just need marketing help. I need more customers. Maybe you're saying, I've got people coming in, but they're not saying yes. Or I'm so cheap that I feel like I'm working too hard for too little money because I don't know how to really sell higher packages. Whatever it is, we're going to talk about how do you even find a great idea so you can keep expanding with great ideas in your business. There is an old myth that's one great idea can make you a billionaire. Sure, everybody needs a good idea for a business, but I think people overestimate how important a good idea is. It's actually not necessarily that you need a good idea for a business. You need to actually execute well on any idea you have. You can take a great idea and do it very poorly. And in the meantime, that means that you're going to have trouble actually getting anything to happen. Or you could take a horrible idea, or let's say, maybe not a horrible idea, but you could take a very benign or bland idea and execute beautifully on it, and you can turn it into something that's very useful for you. Okay, and then last, we're going to look at funding or no funding, because so many of our students come in and they say, I need money and capital, and that may or may not be true. In service businesses, very often you do not need anything like that. You just need to learn how to market and sell properly. In product businesses, e-commerce or platform businesses, or larger businesses, retail, restaurants, maybe you do need funding to help you get things off the ground or to expand. But there's a certain way that people start to fund other companies. There's a certain way investors invest and fund companies or spend their time partnering and investing. And I want to be clear about that up front so that you can either focus on what you need to do to get funding or not. Okay. Next, here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to drop into the chat window whether you are starting, whether you have got a business that's already growing, or whether you're an established business. One of those three things. So are you starting something new? I would just like to know who you are. Are you starting something new? Or are you expanding a newer business? Are you expanding a newer business? Or are you an established business looking to grow? I'd love to know who you are, and we'll ask you again at the event so that we know who we're talking to in front of us. But this is really important so that I know exactly how to help you and at what level to go. Of course, Alessia and I have built dozens of companies ourselves. Between the three of us, Kevin Harrington, myself, and Alessia here, we've done billions of dollars in transactions in our companies combined. And so, we just want to get a sense of where you're at so I know how deep to go. I mean, we go pretty deep in this business and business training. Okay, so what do we got here? Kim says she's starting from scratch. Okay, very good, Kim. Michaela should be an Italian name if I'm not mistaken. Grow and established. You're growing and established. Robert, you're expanding a newer business. Brahma expanding. Alana expanding a new business and starting a new business. Great. Julie expanding. Joseph starting and expanding. Awesome. Glenn expanding. Ron can do either start a new one or grow and establish ones. Great. Silver. Jen, my wife, and I are expanding. Awesome. Wendy expanding new business. Karen narrowing focus and expanding. Okay, great. Awesome. Very good. All right, so let's take a look. A lot of expansion going on. I'll speak to both, but I'm going to definitely talk about expanding. Now, this first webinar, we're going to be a little bit more foundational and fundamental. And we do work a little bit more fundamentally in the early parts, even on a little bit into Friday morning. But we're going to lay a really important set of fundamentals because you cannot actually be a great success without having the fundamentals in place, right? Things start to fall apart as you get bigger and bigger. So let's take a look at what we're going to talk about here. Let's start with products and services. And what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to contrast the difference in value between considering expanding through products or services. Now, you may think that you already have your business, like you may already be a service business. In fact, I would love to know from you right now, what type of business are you in? Are you a product or a service business? Are you a product or a service business? This would be a really important distinction for me to understand so I can know exactly how to position up each of these. So tell me if you're a product or a service business, and they are, just because you might be a service business, you might think, well, I've got my thing, I've got my products or I've got my services, but actually maybe just the opposite is exactly what you need. In other words, if you're a service business, maybe one of the things you want to be doing is actually thinking about launching digital products, and maybe you don't have enough scalable products, that you've got. In the meantime, if you are a service business or product business, you may actually say, hey, I actually need services because I can't seem to get the revenue, or I can't seem to get the margin that I need on my products in order to actually be able to properly get the money that I need out of my business. So let's consider both sides of things to see, and I'm going to show you now the difference that we see in the difference between products versus services and why you'd want to choose anything. So let me just get this here. So Robert says services, Benito says service, Ron service, Jacqueline service, Glenn service, Michaela service, Kim service, Karen service, Wendy service. Wow, lots of services. Cheryl's got products. Josephus has got products. Alana services so far. Silver service. Brahma product. Okay, good. Candy both. All right, great. So I'm going to speak to both, but obviously we have more services on this calls. So let's check it out. Here we go. Advantages and disadvantages to products or expanding in products. So as you start to consider whether you want to be developing more products, developing digital products, we're going to talk quite a bit this weekend about developing digital products and the value in developing digital products and how to do that well. And so we'll also talk a little bit about product development. We're going to have product gurus there. Kevin Harrington will be with us, of course, next week, I should say. And he's, of course, a product guru. He's launched over 500 products. My sister, who is our CEO of our business, has launched over 100 products. She's done over $1 billion in sales here in the U.S. market and internationally. And she's going to talk a little bit about products as well with our students. So you got a lot of product gurus. And of course, Alessia and myself and several others on our team that will be there from around the world have launched very, very successful service businesses many, many, many times. And so you're going to have the whole gamut covered, or we can talk about either. But let's take a look at, from a product business perspective, what's some advantages? One, scalable. You can send it all over the world, and especially we love digital products. Now, if you're not in a digital product or you don't want to be in, that's okay. It's not a problem. It's just you want to start to consider what would it be like to actually start to build products for your business or digital products. Now, the advantage of that is that they're much more scalable and there's better asset value. Because with services, you have a harder time actually having asset value at your company because you don't have anything tangible or physical that's actually of value. It's all service. You also don't have to sell yourself, which is actually an advantage because that can be very challenging for people to have to say, I'm great, you should work with me, like as a service, or you should work with my team. And, selling services can often be very, people get a lot of anxiety sometimes selling services because they're saying, well, can I really actually deliver those services? And usually the answer is yes, they can, but it often creates some additional anxiety around that whole situation for them. Next one is that it's easier to transfer or hand down a product business. So you need to consider where you are at in your business and where you are at in your your generation of your company, and whether you want to consider the ease of transferring it to a CEO or an executive team. If you want to get out of your company, having products, having the product as the front thing that you're selling versus yourself or your service is much easier to transfer or even to hand down to your children. In the meantime, they're easier to protect as well because they're more concrete. And if you have a product or a technology or something like that, it is easier to protect them legally. On the other side, the disadvantage is that you have to sell a high volume of them. Okay, so you got to sell a high volume of products in order to make a difference because typically it's not very high margins on many products. Next is that you got to consider the direct to market if you're going to go direct to the consumers, like a business to consumer product versus retailers and distributors. Now, if you have a business to consumer product, you have to really consider, are you comfortable navigating the direct to market experience? Are you comfortable with e-commerce? Are you comfortable with being able to get out there and work with retailers and distributors? And are you comfortable with that? Do you know how to lead generate online? Do you feel comfortable going and meeting with retailers and distributors? Now, when you're at the event, if you're doing products, you're probably very interested in how to get more to the market, or also get more retailers or distributors to actually engage with you. That kind of thing is exactly what Kevin Harrington and Corey, my sister, can discuss with you if that's an important aspect for you. In the meantime, personal fulfillment is often rated as lower when it comes to product businesses. And the reason is that people often say that product businesses are harder to feel personally fulfilled in the contribution versus service businesses. It does take more time to cash. Listen closely to this one. It's very important. If cash is very important to you, if you want to be leaving your job, or if you're having a hard time in your business right now, launching products and getting products in the marketplace is not going to be as fast as cash as services. In fact, the next one is that there are a lot of relationships involved. You typically have the manufacturer, maybe the graphic designer. You might have the distributor, the retailer. You might have some legal stuff that you got involved. So there's a lot of relationships to manage where services can be quite simpler. And last, it is higher risk. In fact, more product businesses go out of business than any other type of business that exists out there. Service businesses are much more sustainable and much higher, much lower risk. So there you have it. Okay, so speaking of which, let's look at the service business side. Service businesses, we love them because they cost nothing to launch. You want to start using your expertise to go out and start consulting or coaching people, or advising or mentoring. It costs nothing to launch that. They are quick to cash. You can go out tomorrow and you can create the cash that you want to go right away and and start earning money. You've got people in your network, and we're going to be showing you how to be networking. We'll be teaching you partnership strategies, and we're actually going to be playing a game that's going to help you network and partner up with people and find customers and clients just out of your colleagues that are at the event next week. So it's going to be very fun for you. But if you're looking to get faster to cash, this is an important one. In the meantime, the talents are often yours in a service business. So you are typically the one providing the services. If you're a yoga instructor, a coach, or graphic designer or whatever, then it's your services, which means nobody can ever take them away from you, and you get to provide them. So that's an advantage. Of course, there's no immediate deliverables. We love this one. That means you can go out and you can pre-sell services. You can sell a year of consulting, a year of advising, a year of coaching. You get to bring in a deposit or even the full amount, and then you're already making cash, but you have to deliver that over time, right? The next one is that it's easy to internationalize, which means it's easy to be able to go all over the world and be doing work all over the world, which is something we love, and it's quicker to personal fulfillment. So we love those things. Now, I'm going to take a quick 2-second pause here. I'm seeing that my battery on my computer is dying faster than I expected. So give me a second. I'm going to grab my power cable. I'll be right back. Discuss amongst yourselves. I'll be right back, okay? Be right back. Okay, we're back. So let's check it out. So let's move into the disadvantages of service businesses. One of the disadvantages is that you are selling yourself, which means it's more complex because you have to actually sell yourself. And that means you have to be comfortable understanding your own value and being able to communicate that. That can be a disadvantage because it's going to be a much more complex sales process. There are lower assets when it comes to service businesses, and they're harder to scale, right? So they're harder to transfer that knowledge and that experience and wisdom to somebody else. And of course, they're higher competition because there's less barriers to entry. So you got to remember all that. And of course, you got to build a personal profile. And that value of that personal profile sheet is of important value to you get that out there. But then that's a personal profile that's very important. Okay, and last is that. Thank you, people. Last is that it is hard to hand down because transferring it off to somebody else is very difficult. Okay, All right, so those are the disadvantages and the advantages. Now it's time for you to start to think about, do you want to be expanding through services or building through services or products? And let's move on to the next thing to start to consider here. Okay, so your business model. Now I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because it's very important that you understand what kind of business model you are in. People always wonder, why do they need to understand their business model? And the reason is because the way you're going to work in building assets in your business and building your business is going to be different depending on the business model that you are in. So here we go. Let's take a look at the different business models we could be in. Number one, you could be in an expert's business model. Okay, so an expert. What is an expert? Well, Jessica just wrote that she's a forensic CPA. Okay, so a CPA, a forensic CPA, that is an absolute expert. This is somebody who has expertise in finances and you know, in money and in you know, forensic CPA. I'm gonna just kind of learn. She understands how to dig, you know, into the numbers and understand exactly what's gone on in a business. And so this is an expert's type of business. She offers her services. People hire her for the reasons that they need her, and she is an expert. Okay, so that's exactly a great example. Thank you, Jessica, for dropping that in. That was perfect timing. In the meantime, an expert business also becomes a professional services business. This is a type of business model. So, for example, a dentist, a yoga teacher, a lawyer, a accountant, a graphic designer. These are all expert businesses. Okay, coaches, consultants, advisors, mentors, all this stuff, all expert businesses. Okay, and that becomes a professional services business when it becomes a team. So when you are an expert, like if Jessica is just herself at her company and she's getting hired to do the work, she's considered an expert. If she were to start to scale into 3 or 4 other CPAs or 4 or 5 other, you know, accountants or things, this would become a professional services firm. In the meantime, retail businesses are totally different than those. Retail would be something like a restaurant, a spa, a salon, a yoga space. Now, not a yoga teacher, but the yoga space itself, so the physical space. It could be anything in a mall. You go into a mall, you got all the physical retail stores. And of course, we all know that retail has taken a very, very big hit, especially with Amazon and, you know, the online ordering and the online culture of buying things. However, retail is, of course, there's still retail, and retail services actually will never really be able to be replaced unless unless I'm not seeing something. But going out to a restaurant to have a meal, I mean, certainly we have in-house chefs and things, but going out to have your nails done or going to a salon or a spa or something like that, going out to have your hair cut, until everything gets personalized to the home, which may happen, retail is still a very, retail services is still a very protected industry. And you probably have seen that more product retail stores have closed, and more retail services is really what's going on, or even you know, retail that where you really want to, you got to touch something or feel something to be able to engage in it, like a big furniture store, you know, or you know, an audio store where you got to go out and you buy audio stuff, or a music equipment store, a piano store, right? Those things are not, those are harder to, let's say, just order online. But retail has its own thing going on in terms of how to build that business. Then there's technology. Technology could be, for example, you know, a tech company like Apple. Apple's a tech company. As I sit here on an Apple laptop and next to an Apple iPhone and you know, Apple drives. I'm a big Apple guy, right? That sounds funny. I'm a big Apple guy. I'm a big Apple, right? In the meantime, tech is, of course, about the technology itself. And of course, this is very different than an expert's business or a retail business, because this is where the asset value is inside of the technology that you're building and you're patenting and you're protecting for yourself. Now, I know this may sound obvious and you may get it, but I want you to actually start to tease apart your business and your business model so that you're clear. E-commerce is, a totally different animal. It's a totally different type of business where your asset is really about the partnerships, the marketing channels, the online digital marketing funnels, the traffic strategies that you have. Okay. Then there's infrastructure businesses, which are things like construction, water, electrical, you know, anything in that deals with the infrastructures of our lives. Then we have, separately, we have financial, real estate, and insurance agents. These are all different type of business as well. And the reason is because these particular professionals do not actually own the brand that they typically work for, or even the products. So for example, a real estate agent does not own the brand that they typically work for. Like, let's imagine a Century 21 or a Remax or a you know, Keller Williams. A real estate professional who's working for a real estate company, they don't own their own company brand. They own their personal brand, which is very different. And they don't typically own the homes, right? They don't own the houses that they're selling either. So that's a very unique business model. So if you're a financial advisor, an insurance agent, insurance advisor, or a real estate agent, those are particularly a specific business model for your business. Then there's manufacturing. You may be a manufacturer where you create things. And this, of course, is a whole different business model. You could be a professional investor where what you do is you're investing. You could be in publishing or distribution or import or export. For example, a friend, Vishen Lakhiani, who is who's Mind Valley. He runs a company called Mind Valley, which does online publishing of spiritual authors and personal development authors and teachers. So the publishing that he's doing is, there. And import and export also comes into the distribution model if you're importing or exporting. You may be running a charity or a nonprofit, which, of course, the model for that's totally different. And then you might have a network marketing or multi-level marketing company, or you might be in multi-level marketing or network marketing. Last, you might have a platform or an idea for a platform like an Uber, a Yahoo, a Google, a Facebook, PayPal, something where you're bringing two communities together and they're doing business together on your portal. Okay, so why don't you tell me, what business model are you in out of this? What do you see? Are you an experts business, professional services, which is about the same thing? Do you have a retail store? Are you building technology, or do you have a tech company? Are you in e-commerce where you sell other people's stuff or you sell your stuff online? Are you in infrastructure? Are you in financial advising? Do you invest? Are you in distribution, import, export? Charities? Are you a network marketer or multi-level marketer? So what do you do? Okay, just tell me, just drop in there and let me know what you do, because that is an important aspect of what we're talking about here. Okay, so we got it. Robert is pro services and expert. Jacqueline, expert. Alana, pro services expert. Okay, very good. That's great. I love it. Good. Okay, now there is a couple other ways to expand this. Okay, now Kim says she's an expert. Monique says, I'm an author and network marketer. Great. Cheryl, I have a direct sales company and I'm launching a book on how to do so. That's great, Cheryl. So Cheryl, you have a professional services company, but you're also moving into the expert space where you're going to be teaching people. And that's awesome. We're going to show you how you could even be educating people on direct sales and then taking percentages of their businesses while you help them grow. And we'll talk more about that at the event. Ron, Kane, many of these businesses cross over and include aspects of many categories. Ah, Ron, you have noticed something very potential. And if we look at Josephus says that retail, e-commerce, MLM, and platform, maybe your business crosses across a couple different business models, in which case maybe it just seems like that. But maybe it's actually focused and you think it's across different models. So we'll have to see. We'll start to tease this apart at the event. A jeweler. So Rick is a jeweler now. Rick would have to determine whether it's a retail store that he's really is where the focus of his money is being made. People walk into his store and buy stuff, or if it's really service, for example. If Rick is actually designing jewelry for people, and he might have both. But then the question becomes, what do we want to focus on this year to grow? Because what we focus on will expand, and so we need to make sure that we're clear about that. Brahma says 2 businesses, experts and real estate. Okay, Silver says hard to say. We are in glamping, glorified camping. Yes, and Silver, I feel like I remember meeting you in Denver. I'm going to take a long shot here, although I meet thousands of people a week. Silver, I'm going to say that you were in Denver and you do this with your husband or your significant partner in glamping, because I remember we talked about that. And in the meantime, so what do you do, Silver? I guess it depends on how you look at your company. If you look at your company as a product business, then you could even be looking at it like infrastructure, right? Salt Lake, very good. It was Salt Lake. Thank you, Silver. Thank you. And that's right. I did meet your wife. And so I would really consider that kind of an infrastructure business, because you're creating the infrastructure of what people live in when they are camping outside, right? Glamping. Anyways, we can talk more about that, but let's take a look at this part. So now there's a way to expand these. Once you understand which model you're in, and you can start to understand how to focus to build that model, because remember, we've done this thousands and thousands and thousands of times. We had 400,000 students come through our trainings. We've had tens of thousands of mentorship students come through our mentorship programs over the years. And so we have almost always run or been involved in or partnered in or worked or grown a business that's exactly like yours. So we understand that as soon as you can kind of come up to us and say, well, I'm in an experts business or I'm in a tech business, we go, oh, great. We know the 20 or 30 or 40 steps that have to be taken over the next year to make that business grow, and the things that you're going to run into and the challenges, so we can help you anticipate challenges and grow, and then also just work on the things that make the best difference. So let's take a look, though. It goes deeper than this. As it turns out, there are 2 different markets as well. And we're going to talk more about this at the event and how to expand your business. But you could be in a business-to-business market where you are actually managing business to business, and your customers are other businesses. So for example, let's go back to Silver and the glamping market. So Silver could be in basically a B2B business where he's selling the camping materials to retail stores like outdoors stores, and I'm trying to think about the good ones here in the States because I've been overseas for so long. But anyways, all the sports stores and all. So all of his customers would be B2B, and he could be placing those into retailers and distributors and so forth. In the meantime, though, he could also be going direct to the market, which is B2C, right? And so he could be selling them directly to the market. And Silver, I'm going to guess you're probably doing both. But the interesting thing is that many people don't do both well. And so we're going to look at this training is how to be actually doing both well. What do you need to be doing both well? Because when you do both well, you can be expanding into both, and they're both excellent markets. Now, do you do both at the same time? Nope. No. You never do more than one thing at one time. And I just want you to write that down or really code that in. You always want to be focused on one thing at a time. It's very, very important. So let's move on from that. I want to get you into how do we find a great idea for expanding our businesses, okay? Now, whether you already have a business and you're established, which many of our students do who come to this event, they already have their businesses, to start to look at how to actually create business ideas for expansion in their business, I'm going to give you a number of ways that ourselves and over the years of spending time with Richard Branson and you know, all these great mentors, and Rick Belluzzo from Microsoft, the COO, and you know, who else? You know, Tony Robbins, and you know, Robert and Kim Kiyosaki. The years of spending time with these people, we've learned how they think to actually find new ideas for their businesses. And here's how they do it. Number one, do you have a current talent or a skill that is really valuable to the marketplace that you could be sharing with others and getting paid for? Do you have a skill set? Now, maybe you're at a job right now, and I know this is just for those of you that maybe haven't started your business, but maybe you've been in a job for many, many years training on things like engineering, or maybe you're in leadership positions, and you understand a lot about leaders and leadership and those kind of things. And so maybe you have a great skill that you can be getting hired for. Maybe you see something that you can improve upon. And this is what Richard Branson saw when he started Virgin Airlines. You know, he was trapped in the islands, in the Virgin Islands, trying to get over to another island where he had a girlfriend at the time. And he essentially had a bad experience with a plane ride where they canceled the flight. And he thought, this is terrible, terrible service. And he had an idea to improve and make an airline that was really fun and customer service friendly, and not, you know, people have anxiety when they fly. They don't enjoy flying. They get treated, you know, like commodities, that kind of thing. And so he said, I have an idea to improve this experience. And he built an airline that completely improved the whole experience. Maybe there's a problem that you need to solve for yourself. And, you know, it's unlikely that you have problems that you need to solve that nobody else has ever gone through before. So if you have a problem that you need to solve and you think, you know, other people probably have this problem as well, I should not only solve it for myself, but I should solve it for others. This could be a great place that you could find a good idea on how to, you know, create a product or service for your business. Maybe you have a passion or a hobby. Maybe you love things. I mean, you'll find a lot more about Alessia and I and our team at the upcoming event. But I was a musician. I've been a musician since I was 5 years old. And I love performing music. And so that was my passion. And I used that to turn it into my first business. My first business was a media company that I started in California. And I'll tell you more about those stories because there's some fun, crazy stories. And we grew the business to top 5 in the world in about 4 years. But it was just a passion. I just loved music. I loved entertainment. I loved that whole thing. And so we used that as one of our first businesses. And we weren't immediately successful at it. So I'll share the stories and the, you know, the loop-de-loops and the ups and downs. But we had good mentors. We mentored with coaches over the time that we built the business. We always had mentors and coaches. We never tried to build a business alone. Always have done that. And in the meantime, that changed the success story. Okay, maybe you have a great idea for an invention, or you have a great product. For example, one of our mentorship students that we mentor right now in Germany has a compactor where he can compact. He puts it in the house, in the kitchen, and you can put garbage in there, and you compact it stronger than any compactor, any commercial compactor, any, I should say, a public compactor that you have. So he created this invention, and now he sells it all over. And we've been mentoring him on how to get more distribution. And he's doing great. Maybe you have access to something exotic. So, for example, maybe you or your family are from a different country, or maybe you just love exotic things and you've spent time getting connected to them. We have a student, a mentorship student, who I actually believe will be in Denver, flying in from Atlanta, and he imports sort of exotic African fabrics, and he sells exotic African fabrics all over the world. And so this is a great thing that he came up with that you know, basically helps him run his business. Maybe there's a market that's been telling you. Maybe your friends have been saying, you know, I really need help with X, and I don't know how to do it. And maybe you've been hearing a few people saying the same thing. And so this is a great opportunity to say, you know, I'm going to help the markets because I can see that there's a market demand. Or maybe you feel called to make a change. Maybe you see something in the world and you say, this really needs to change. This is absurd that people are having this happen to them or doing this. You know, in some social situations, you know, you may feel like you see things that are socially not appropriate and you want to make a change. You know, yesterday, Leslie and I were doing cryotherapy. We do cryotherapy, which is this freezing thing, and we'll tell you about. It's great because I have a little, you know, from speaking on stages for 15 years now, I'm getting a little lower back pain, and so we go in and we do this freezing thing where we do cryotherapy, and you stand in a little tube for 3 minutes and they freeze you down. And it's really helpful for, you know, back and lower back and inflammation, things like that. Anyways, we were talking to the woman that was doing it for us, and she's finishing up her master's in social change because she wants to actually go out and help, you know, change the planet and change the story on the planet to have people be more conscious of the planet. And she actually does some mentoring under Al Gore and those kind of things. And so she feels called to make a change. And so she's finishing up her master's because she wants to go off and she wants to start a little nonprofit and actually change the story of the planet. This is called to make a change. Now, it doesn't have to be a social change. I'm just giving you an example. Naturally, social changes in charities or let's say social businesses are one form of types of businesses. In the meantime, maybe there's a specific group of people that you want to help. Maybe you love helping elderly or professional women, or you want to empower children, or you know, you understand engineers better than anybody else, and you want to help them become better communicators and better leaders. Maybe there's a specific group of people that you love to work with. And Alessia is going to take you through a little bit more of this conversation tomorrow when it comes to who your avatar is, who is your perfect target market, and who should you be working with, and also what kind of change do you want to see in the world. These are important aspects of your calling, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow. And last, another area to find a business idea in is an opportunity that has just presented itself. Now, opportunities that present themselves can be fun opportunities, they can be financial opportunities. But when they present themselves, maybe your friends have brought you an opportunity, an idea to you. Maybe your, you know, some colleague, or maybe you just happen to stumble across something that you think is untapped, and it's a great opportunity that's presented itself. So here you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different ways that you can continue to use to find good ideas to expand your business or to launch something new if you're doing that. Okay, so there's a common myth that people carry and business owners carry, which is that they think that they have to get clear about what they want to do with their businesses or with their expansion plans. They think they have to be crystal clear before they get started. This is actually a very common misnomer, a very common problem, because it's not true that you need to get clear. Actually, you need to get started in order to get clear. Bill Gates used to say, people think they need to go out and be successful to become confident. He said, no, you have to go out confident to become successful. And so it's the same situation here about getting clear. You have to actually get going. And this is a scary step for people, because taking on mentors, engaging in you know, more confirmed steps when someone's not really clear can feel very concerning, like they're going to do the wrong thing or they're going to make a mistake. Feels a lot like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make a mistake if I'm not crystal clear about what I should be doing. But it turns out that's a sabotage pattern to keep you spinning around in circles, that in order to actually get clear about what you want or what you want to do, you actually need to go out and actually get things going. And you need to work with mentors. It's like if you're feeling out of shape, confused about how to get your body in shape, like in a fitness or a health world, well, you would essentially go and get a fitness trainer to help you reduce your weight. You wouldn't try to get clear in your own head about everything, because you're not an expert. That's not what you do. You would know, and even if you think you would know the cool things that an expert who does it on a daily basis would know. So the idea is get yourself started, get going, have mentors, work on your business. I can't tell you how important mentorship is, and consulting and advising by top teams and top coaches are. It's the thing that has made the difference for all of our companies. Okay, so the very last conversation I want to have before I open up some questions and we wrap up for today is, do you need funding or not? And when do you know you're ready for funding for your business? Now, you may feel like, oh my gosh, if somebody would just give me a lot of money, everything would work out. It turns out actually that that's not true by data, statistics, and history, that people who think they need money, actually many times if you give it to them, it actually doesn't work out for them, which is a very interesting thing. In fact, as a total random side note, when I was in college, I had a very deep desire to help homeless people. I lived in Boston. I was going to school in school in Boston, and there were a lot of homeless in Boston. And I felt at that time I wanted to make a difference in helping the homeless. And so I started actually working with homeless shelters and homeless groups and groups that would help homeless. And I sort of thought, well, if everybody just, they would always ask for money. And I thought, well, if everybody just gave them more money, if people weren't so stingy and they just gave money, that they could actually start to get caught up in their lives. And it turned out that the groups that I worked with said that actually they've tracked that, and actually giving money to homeless people many times doesn't actually create the impact or the effect that the person is thinking. Now, I'm in no way judging or saying you should do or not do. Whether you give money to the homeless is totally up to you, and I have nothing to say about that. But what I am saying is that many times giving money to groups or to people is not really what they need. They really need something more like an education or structure or partnerships or support or community or help. And money alone won't do it. We heard this again with charities. Many times we used to say to charities, can we just give you money? And they'd actually say, well, money is not really what we need. It's not that they don't need money. It's that there are many times if you give money to a charity, it actually causes more problems for them versus if they actually get the infrastructure and the support and the community and the education, the advising and the partnerships that they need. So it's the same thing with a business. And I hope I'm not offending anybody with those two examples. Those were interesting examples for me in my lifetime where I got a real reframe as to how to actually make a difference, building something that you want and making a change that you want. So when it comes to a profit business now, or even a nonprofit business, we've learned that funding and getting funding is not always the right solution. In fact, there are two criteria that we always ask when people come to us and they say, will you invest in our business? Now, we work with our students in this 3-day training event, start at the top, and then we invite 30 students to apply for our mentorship program. We take on only 30 students out of this room to hold your hand over the year. We essentially guarantee that you're going to get great results if you do exactly what we ask you to do, because we've done this thousands and thousands of times. And in the meantime, sometimes people say, well, I just want to skip that step and I just want you to start investing and partnering in my business. And we don't. That's not how we work. We don't start partnering or investing in somebody's business, just to be clear. We don't just start investing in people we don't know in their business. We need to get to know people for a while. You need to get to know people, just like getting married. You date before you get married to get to know your partner, make sure it's a right fit and you understand who they are, their values, how they work, how they think, their behaviors, that whole thing. In the meantime, so let me explain to you the two criteria that we even look at. Even after we get to know somebody, we get to know how they work, and we think that we could be great personal partners with them from a value standpoint. The first thing we want to know is, do they have an experienced management team? In other words, have they had this experience before? Have they done what they're trying to do before? Or have the people in their management team or executive team, have they run successful businesses before? Because if they haven't run successful businesses before, they've never been in the industry, it's a high-risk situation for the investor because they don't really know if the people who run the business actually even know what they're doing, even though they could be very excited, okay? This is why often if you see funding of young people's businesses, as it turns out, they usually get very little money initially to just see what's going to happen before there's major investing. And by the way, don't ever fantasize someone's going to just drop millions of dollars in your lap. That rarely ever happens. If it does, you better believe that it's from investment team that's going, this is an experienced team. They know what they're doing. They've done it before. We can trust their history and their background. In the meantime, the second criteria that's very important is a cash flowing project. So is this project cash flowing? Are you already demonstrating that the cash that that the business itself has created a viable product, a viable service, and you're out there selling it, and it's actually working already, and therefore, we know that it makes sense, and more money would just help accelerate the revenue that you're creating. Okay, those are the two criteria that we would want to know before we even take a pitch. After we have mentored a group for a while, and how we work when it comes to partnering and investing in businesses is they have to go through a mentorship program with us where we mentor with them for an hour. We mentor with them for a year. An hour is short. We mentor with them for a year, and we take them through a 1-year mentorship program where we get to really learn about what it's like to work with them. Our team gets to work with them. We have about 12 people that work with our mentorship students all year long, making sure every aspect of their business is managed and successfully growing. And so we spend a year working with them to get to know their values, their business, and how it works. And then from there, then we meet with them if they want to meet, and they can pitch us on their business, including Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. You can pitch them on your business. And one of the first two criteria we're looking at is, are they experienced? Have they demonstrated an experience and mastery over their market and their business? And number two is, are they cash flowing well in their business? If those two things are not a yes, then we don't even really take the pitch, just to be honest. Okay. All right. So that's it for today. I hope that was an interesting start for you. It's our very first set of topics. Now I want to open up to any questions that you have, if you have any. This is a great time to ask any questions about the event, about your business, about anything. And we'll do a few minutes of that, and then we'll wrap up for the day. And just remember that we're going to be starting next Tuesday. Okay, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I know that Alessia gave you the event information that you're in. She told you it's in Golden. I believe it's the Marriott. Don't hold me to it. and that we get started at 8 a.m. with registration, and 9 o'clock is when we get started sharp. We're very, very timely. And so 8 a.m. registration, 9 a.m. Start time. Okay. Well, it looks like we have no questions, which means I either killed you with content because there's so much, or maybe you're just processing everything we talked about, and more questions will come up later. In the meantime, we're going to be back here tomorrow at exactly the same time. Let's see, it's Wednesday. So Thursday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. We'll be back here, and we'll be doing webinar number 2. Alessia will be doing the webinar, completely different content and information. She's going to be taking you through how to actually identify your calling in the 6 domains to align with your highest purpose. Kim asks, will we receive a link so we can rewatch this presentation? The answer is yes. You will receive a link so you can rewatch this presentation. It should come out within an hour or so. Cheryl, thank you so much. Wonderful to meet you. Awesome. Cheryl, we'll see you more, of course, next week as we work together. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, everybody, our love to you. I will see you on Friday. I'm going to run the webinar on Friday. Alessia will run it tomorrow. Oh, we got one last question here from Matthew. What are the 3 top things we can do to be prepared for the event? 3 top things. Matthew, preparation webinar number 1, preparation webinar number 2, preparation webinar number 3. Attend all 3. Make sure you ask questions and just engage. So the top 3 things you can do to be prepared: get good sleep. Make sure you get good sleep. There's going to be a lot going on. Number 2, bring your questions with you, okay, to the event. That's really important. And number 3, be on time. Be on time because there's a lot that we go through, and we try to move fast so that we get you through a lot of stuff. Okay? Awesome. Benito says, I have an attendance question, but you're not asking it. So go ahead, Benito, you can drop it in here as we wrap up. And if you have any questions that I haven't answered, remember, you can always go to Rockstar Service at industryrockstar.com. Rockstar Service at industryrockstar.com. Okay, and when you ask what are the break schedules, my wife is business partner. Yeah, Benito, the break schedules, we usually do a morning break. We do a lunch break around 1 o'clock. We do an afternoon break, 4 o'clock roughly, 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then we complete around 5:30-ish. Sometimes we run till about 6 o'clock if we're having good, juicy conversations. And we do that each day. Okay? All right, everybody. I think we're wrapped. Have a great day. Go run your businesses and have a certain, have an awesome experience. I can't wait to see you next week. If you have any other questions, feel free to text them. Oh, we're getting a couple more. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Benita says, I don't know if they're private areas so she can do for breastfeeding. Absolutely, Benita. I mean, we have 2 children. We've gone through that. We understand. I mean, we're at a hotel. Will there be private areas? I'm sure there will be. And you'd have to check in with the hotel. We don't create any private areas, so you'd have to just check in. Kim, can we add the lunch next week during the seminar if we didn't originally sign up for it? You can, Kim, if there are spots left. I don't know that there are VIP spots left. You can ask when you get to the event, and the team will let you know. Josephus, what's the best way to brand? Ooh, Josephus, that's a very big question. The best way to brand, since it's a general question, I'm going to answer you with a general answer, is to focus on your personal brand. And we're going to spend a couple hours at the event actually going through personal branding. Okay? Awesome. Okay, everyone. Love to you. See you next week, and I'll see you on Friday for the 3rd webinar. Alessia will see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.